Are you looking for a nice medium to longer wig that has a very believable density with a cap that is very, very comfortable, 100% hand tied, and you're not looking for HD fibers because you want a little more longevity? You might want to tune in for this one. So here it is, guys. You know, I don't know how this style has escaped me. I'm really excited to see what I think about this. It's been around for a little while. This is part of their California Blonde collection. The color is Palm Springs Blonde. Now, this is not a heat-friendly fiber, so this is Palm Springs Blonde, what it looks like in a regular synthetic fiber. So you cannot take heat to this. We'll see what we think about this. As you all may know, I prefer HD fibers, but here is an example. Here is an example of a 100% gorgeous cap, all the features. This is really the most amazing cap you will find in the wig world are these 100% hand-tied caps. And this indeed is a regular synthetic fiber. So very happy to let you guys know that have kind of reached out and asked me about this. So with 100% hand tied, which means each individual fiber is hand sewn in, hence why that price escalates quite a bit. You're paying for all of these features here. So with that technique, you get a very realistic look, a very realistic feel. The way it moves, you also don't have to worry about wefts showing, whether you like to pull things back or you're just sort of worried about that. You don't have to worry about that with a hand-tied cap. Now, generally, they do tend to fit a little tighter, a little smaller, I should say. And I will put my head measurements down below so you can get an idea what my measurements are. But in general, that's the rule of thumb. Hand-tied caps tend to not have as much stretch and they tend to fit a little smaller. I will let you know how I feel when I do put this on. I feel like I can say that the Raquel Welch hand-tied caps do have more stretch than what I have experienced with the Jon Renau caps. So they tend to fit me like the regular average would in Raquel Welch. And in my experience, Jon Renau's tend to fit me just a little more snug, which isn't bad for me because of my measurements, that is a good thing. But I have not tried Courtney here, so I will check in with you when I get this on my head. We also have this full monofilament crown hand-tied. We have the amazing Jon Renau Smart lace front. We have this really soft material here throughout this cap, and that's kind of another reason why some women prefer the hand-tied caps. They feel softer, they feel a little more comfortable. However, they can often be a little warmer, so you might want to keep that in mind as well. This particular style has an extended nape. Don't forget there are those vertical stays on each side. You can pinch them in to kind of tuck it there and keep it against the nape of your neck. We have closures here that can adjust a 1/2 inch, both in or let out. So that's why if you're average petite, average large, generally you can make these work for you. Just know, I just know that if you're an average large, sometimes these hand-tied caps can fit a little smaller. We also have the very soft ear tabs. This is a huge bonus for me. It really, for me, cuts down on some itching that I can get if they're not with either this really nice velvet or moleskin. Jon Renau always has very firm, very nice metal stays here in the side of these temple tabs, and that's so it doesn't lift up and it stays very nice and comfortable to the side of your head there. And that is just really the creme de la creme of caps that we're looking at right here. All the bells and whistles. Beautiful. All right, I'm very anxious to get Courtney on, so I'm gonna do that now. And the one I have on my head right now is a Belle Tress wig. It's called Caliente in the color Butterbeer Blonde. Now, one of the sort of unanimous things that I've picked up when I've watched. I didn't really find a ton of reviews on Courtney, but when I did find one, I think most everyone mentioned the really nice natural feel density-wise of this wig. So we're gonna kind of focus a bit on that. You know, this is fitting me really nicely. It's not bunching up really terribly behind my ear in general. So that gives me a little bit of a clue. This might fit just a little smaller. For me, that works out great, but I still will stick to the fact that I do feel like these 100% hand-tied caps generally seem to not have as much stretch as the Raquel Welch. And I do think this fits just the tiniest bit smaller than a non-hand-tied cap in this Jon Renau line. With that said, my oh my, is this cap comfortable. I am an HSP, a highly sensitive person. If you are too, I hope you get the opportunity to try a hand-tied cap. For me, they really are amazing in just their comfort, and I don't know, they really are a wonderful experience if you're gonna wear a wig. So right out of the gate, I'm gonna say this does have a lot of shine. A lot of shine here. Of course, you know, I do have lights, rather bright lights going on here, so we are getting a big reflection of that shine, but nonetheless, there is a lot of shine in this. So I, you know, would have to do some dry shampoo to this. I would want to be careful, and I'd want to go as lightly as I could because it does have a bit of grit to it. It does change the texture, which I love, but on shorter medium length wigs. On longer wigs, I want movement. I don't want to grit up the fibers, you know, and cause more tangling than necessary. But man, I would have to deal with this shine. I definitely would. So we have quite a crisscross part. I got to get rid of that, so let's do that. So this is a full monofilament, guys. So it came sort of crisscrossy, but it did come right here. I always like to sort of try it where it came, so I can maybe fight with it less. And nicely enough, I am usually a left to right side parter anyway. But being a full monofilament, you certainly don't have to marry that, and you can change it up. Wow. And before I really mess with it a little more, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a spin so you can see what this looks like all the way around. The other bonus for many of you with these hand-tied caps is there's no Permatease in here at all. You know, it's going to really sort of stay to the plane of your head very, very naturally, nicely, easily, because there is zero Permatease in here. So you're not going to get any sort of lift, you know, from that in the crown, which I actually love. But the trade-off there is you do get a very sort of realistic look. But technically the argument is, I think Permatease that's very well done looks realistic as well. But many of you prefer wigs that don't have any Permatease. So you're getting that with these 100% hand-tied caps. I like to pull out a little bit of my own hair. With the Palm Springs Blonde, it goes pretty well with my own natural sort of mousy gray brown that's going on here with my natural hair. But I still like to use a little bit of fill-in powder, especially up in here. because my hair does grow out all the way out here, and it does sort of help bring home a more natural looking hairline. So it's just something that I tend to do regardless if my own hair blends okay or not. But yeah, see, my own hair grows way up here, so I would like to take a little bit of fill-in powder right in there. I still feel like I have a crisscross part in there. I think I'll move the part over just a little. Maybe we'll see if we can encourage it to go a little bit different way. Move it over a little more. Now this is not a heat-friendly fiber, but I find that the hot air brushes that are plastic, you know, they have the plastic barrel, they don't have the ceramic barrel, they're not any sort of metal barrel at all. They work really well on these non-heat-friendly fibers because it's a gentle heat, and as long as you keep it moving along, you can sort of encourage, say, something like this. You can encourage it to get in a different parting position with that little bit of gentle heat. If you have a little bit of box hair and you don't have the patience, nor do you feel like waiting for it to fix itself or wash it if it's really bad, sometimes those hot air brushes can do the trick. They can also encourage funky bangs to behave a little more. And however, I do recommend using a heat protectant, even with that gentle hot air brush. I prefer the 1.5 inch barrel. I'm going to put a link to the one I have. However, it's a Helen of Troy, and they do not make that exact one anymore. But there is a brand called Hot Tools that is, I believe, owned by Helen of Troy, and they have the same exact one. Only I couldn't find a 1.5 inch barrel. I think it was a 1 3/4 inch, or as close as I could get to 1.5 inch. Maybe it was a 1 1/4 inch that I found. Anyway, it's exactly the same. It's just a different color. But I recommend having one of those in your arsenal because they do come in handy on both the heat-friendly fibers and the fibers that are synthetic that are not heat-friendly. So I really like parting it on this side. I'm getting just a little bit more body, a little bit more lift. But with that said, please don't be afraid, even if this were those delicate heat-friendly fibers, don't be afraid to get in there and sort of get these fibers up off the cap, kind of get in there and lift it up and away. Get them off the cap, because that can make the difference between something looking kind of wiggy and something looking very, very natural. So don't be afraid to do that. These aren't so delicate that you can't treat them really like your own hair that way. So let's take a look at this lace front. Now, the really amazing thing about a color like this, Palm Springs Blonde, is that this is a very light root. Those knots are going to be very hard to see, and that is the bonus of really going with a color like this if that bothers you. It doesn't bother me. For instance, I love shaded praline, and that has an 8 root, which is quite dark, and you can see the little teeny tiny knots, but you can do techniques to not have that be so noticeable, and it doesn't bother me because that color is just absolutely gorgeous. But you have a color like this, and it really kind of mutes that perfect little knot every time. This is a gorgeous lace front. It goes from, this lace front goes all the way to here, so it's not technically a temple to temple lace, but it does go all the way to here. And then these fibers are sewn in, so they go straight down, and that is a very realistic look, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So what I do even if I have a color like this, is I get in the habit to just, when I get it on and I get it straight and I make sure that it's straight, that those temple tabs are cupped in toward the side of my temples, then I go in underneath the fibers and I do little swirls with my fingers, really carefully, but I do swirls and then I press it down to the temple tabs, apparently. So swirl, 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 press. I got this technique from Patti, watching her videos back when I first started wearing wigs. She was my guiding light, really, truly. And you do this just 2 or 3 times every time you get on the wig. I don't care how many times you wear this particular wig or any wig, you just keep doing it, because over time it just really helps that hairline look more realistic. And it is just a really great technique to use no matter what color you have, but especially helpful for those dark rooted colors. And it really just, these perfect knots. Some will lay this way, some will go flat, some will go this way, and it just disrupts that perfect look. And it really, really works. I can't get over the density, first of all. This is, as long as this wig is, this is a very light wig. I'm gonna put the specs down in the description box. You will find all the specs. You'll find the link that will take you directly to this style. It'll be there for sure. You will see with the ounces that this is not a very heavy wig, and it's because this density is really nice. This is pretty. This reminds me a little bit of a similar shape as Spotlight, because, you know, we do have sort of these swoopy sort of layer going on here. This one isn't quite as short as Spotlight, but it is razored out very nicely. So we have this light end. That means that it's going to, you know, kind of stay back, especially with a little bit of hairspray. And hairspray will also help to quell a bit of the flyaways. Yeah, the shape of this is just up my alley. I love this shape. I love the sort of low framing layers. I love the razory ends, yet they have a bit of body to it. This is a shape that I feel is quite becoming on all of us, because it's not just all one length. It's not real heavy down here, and it really elongates the neck. I think it makes the neck look longer. It is just a very feminine style, a very feminine cut. And if I, you know, could grow my own hair out to look like this, this is how I would wear my hair all the time. A lot. We do have snow outside, but I just want to just step out just to get some natural light so we can see how much shine we're dealing with outside in the natural light. But I know I'm going to want to do some dry shampoo.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but mans keep walking. Just too sharp with the prize, white girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch man, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees, I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the. Wake up, get out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, white girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch man, please use caution. Beg, please get on your knees. Came from the jungle, up in the trees. I got a few tricks up in the sleeve. One wrong move, I'ma let out the. Big shoes, check out the crease.
So there you have it. I'm going to close out this video by taking you outside so you can see what this looks like. It's a very gray day. We had snow, but still, it's natural light. I'm not going to edit it or do anything with it. I'm just going to let you see it in its full natural light state. Hopefully it'll give you another look at Palm Springs blonde and what it looks like in the synthetic fiber, the non-HD fiber. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much for watching, and be on a lookout for another Wig Chat next week. Bye-bye.